and that of this other kind, is the difference between the root and the branch, or between the removing of a stain which is fresh and one which is old and of long standing. For, as we said, the purgation of sense is only the entrance and beginning of contemplation leading to the purgation of spirit, which, as we have likewise said, serves rather to accommodate sense to spirit than to unite spirit to God. But there still remain in the spirit the stains of the old man, though the spirit thinks not that this is so, neither can it perceive them. If these stains be not removed with the soap and strong lye of the purgation of this night, the spirit will be unable to come to the purity of divine union. Lye as in lye soap. These souls have likewise the habituo mentis and the natural roughness which every man contracts through sin, and the distraction and outward clinging of the spirit, which must be enlightened, refined, and recollected by the afflictions and perils of that night. These habitual imperfections belong to all those who have not passed beyond this state of the proficient. They cannot coexist, as we say, with the perfect state of union through love. To actual imperfections all are not liable in the same way. Some, whose spiritual good is so superficial and so readily affected by sense, fall into greater difficulties and dangers, which we described at the beginning of this treatise. For as they find so many and such abundant spiritual communications and apprehensions, both in sense and in spirit, wherein they oftentimes see imaginary and spiritual visions, for all these things, together with other delectable feelings, come to many souls in this state, wherein the devil and their own fancy very commonly practice deceptions on them. And as the devil is apt to take such pleasure in impressing upon the soul and suggesting to it the said apprehensions and feelings, he fascinates and deludes it with great ease, unless it take the precaution of resigning itself to God, and of protecting itself strongly, by means of faith, from all these visions and feelings. For in this state the devil causes many to believe in vain visions and false prophecies, and strives to make them presume that God and the saints are speaking to them, and they often trust their own fancy. And the devil is also accustomed in this state to fill them with presumption and pride, so that they become attracted by vanity and arrogance, and allow themselves to be seen engaging in outward acts which appear holy, such as raptures and other manifestations. Thus they become bold with God and lose holy fear, which is the key and custodian of all the virtues. And in some of these souls so many are the falsehoods and deceits which tend to multiply, and so inveterate do they grow, that it is very doubtful that such souls will return to the pure road of virtue and true spirituality. Into these miseries they fall, because they are beginning to give themselves over to spiritual feelings and apprehensions with too great of security, when they were beginning to make some progress upon the way. There is much more that I might say of these imperfections, and of how they are the more incurable, because such souls consider themselves to be more spiritual than the others. But I will leave this subject. I shall only add, in order to prove how necessary for him that would go farther is the night of the spirit, which is purgation, that none of these proficients, however strenuously he may have labored, is free, at best, from many of those natural affections and imperfect habits, purification from which, we said, is necessary if a soul is to pass to divine union. And over and above this, as we have said already, inasmuch as the lower part of the soul still has a share in these spiritual communications, they cannot be as intense, as pure, and as strong as is needful for the aforesaid union. Wherefore, in order to come to this union, the soul must needs enter into the second night of the spirit, wherein it must strip sense and spirit perfectly from all these apprehensions and from all sweetness, and be made to walk in dark and pure faith, which is the proper and adequate means whereby the soul is united with God, according as Hosea says in these words, I will betroth thee, that is, I will unite thee with me through faith. End of chapter 2 of book 2.